Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're doing something a little different by bridging two things you probably never thought you'd hear in the same sentence: the mystical, ancient framework of Vedic astrology and your everyday tax compliance. I know, it sounds like a totally unexpected pairing, right? But stick with me, because unpacking this connection actually reveals the literal, unshakable foundation of lasting professional success. So, let's kick things off with a pretty heavy question straight from our source material. Does your tax compliance actually match the professional image you're out there presenting to the world? It really challenges us to look way past the polished presentations and the fancy job titles, right into the quiet, totally unglamorous habits of our financial lives. We spend so much energy curating this perfect public persona, but does the reality of our private obligations actually back that up? Which brings us right into Section 1, the 10th house expectation. If you're familiar with Vedic astrology, you know the 10th house is huge. It's the realm of what the public sees: your career, your reputation, your authority. But it's way deeper than just a bullet point on your resume. This house is about how society remembers you long after your day-to-day wins fade away. And here's the kicker. When you build a successful business or step into a leadership role, you're generating massive expectations. People expect your integrity to match your success. They're looking for compliance, transparency, and accountability just as much as they're looking for high performance. And this is where Saturn enters the chat. Saturn brings this quiet, intense, grounding force of accountability straight into that flashy 10th house of career. Saturn really isn't about the applause. It represents discipline, structure, the law, and maybe most importantly, the long-term consequences of literally every action you take. It is all about doing things right when nobody is watching. Let's explore that contrast in Section 2, Visible Success, Invisible Discipline. Think of this as the classic iceberg concept. On the surface, you've got visible success. That's the stuff we all strive for, right? The titles, the awards, the public praise. It's what people applaud. But reputation is rarely sustained by success alone. You have to look below the waterline at the invisible discipline. We're talking accurate financial records, honest reporting, timely tax filing. While everybody is busy admiring the shiny awards up top, real trust is being quietly built and maintained by these invisible, completely uncelebrated habits underneath. Because here's the truth: a polished presentation can't permanently hide a lack of accountability. Our source material puts it perfectly. Saturn rarely rewards shortcuts. It values systems instead. It's so common for people to obsess over their public image while quietly neglecting their financial responsibilities in the background, thinking their momentum will just sort of gloss over the cracks. But discipline, especially financial discipline, is quite literally your strongest form of professional insurance. So what are these systems? Well, it's organized bookkeeping, complete documentation, timely income tax filing, proper expense records, honest financial reporting. I know these repetitive practices sound incredibly boring to most of us. And let's be real, you're never going to get an award for keeping a tidy expense log. Yet, these are the exact foundation stones that quietly protect your entire career from completely avoidable and sometimes catastrophic setbacks. They are the systems Saturn demands. Now let's see how this plays out over the long haul in Section 3, the test of time. Time is ruthless when it comes to exposing patterns. We can think of this as the snowball of neglect. It always starts with Step 1, a single, overlooked compliance issue that seems totally harmless today. But remember, Saturn doesn't usually strike out of nowhere. It just lets time do its thing. By Step 2, those small inaccuracies turn into recurring habits. Step 3, your delayed documentation morphs into massively disorganized records. And then Step 4 hits. Those minor oversights finally accumulate, they attract major attention, and suddenly the consequences are impossible to ignore. Time always reveals the cracks. And let's be honest, the stakes are only getting higher. Modern professional life moves at lightning speed. Your business expands, digital payments go through the roof, you've got multiple income sources, maybe even international transactions. With all that complexity, success brings amazing opportunities, but it also demands that your tax compliance scales right alongside your expanding influence. You absolutely cannot rely on the simple bookkeeping you used on day 1 when you're suddenly operating at the level of day 1000. Which naturally leads us to Section 4, Leadership by Example. As we discussed, that 10th house often brings prominent roles: managers, entrepreneurs, executives, public figures. But there is a really critical equation our source lays out for these roles: Authority carries visibility, and visibility increases accountability. Every single financial decision you make is either building or chipping away at your professional credibility. Every accurate tax return you file is quietly reinforcing a reputation that you've spent years building through sheer hard work. It's easy to think of tax compliance as this totally private, isolated matter, but true leadership is about the example you set. Just think about who is actually observing your hidden systems. Your employees are definitely noticing your financial ethics. Your business partners are looking for transparency. Your clients can feel your reliability, and your own family learns from your responsibility. Honest compliance shows your true values because your actions are always going to educate the people around you far more effectively than any big speech you could make.
All right, let's bring it all together in Section 5, the unseen foundation.
There is such a vital point to understand here. Saturn is not against your ambition. It doesn't want you to play small at all. It simply asks that your ambition remains ethical. It demands that your growth stays transparent and that your wealth is honestly reported. If there's one thing you take away from this explainer, let it be this. Lasting careers are almost never sustained by talent alone. Talent might get your foot in the door, but your career actually endures because discipline is quietly protecting everything your talent creates. It's a really fascinating paradox when you think about it. Your clients are probably never going to ask to see your accounting records. Customers aren't going to audit your bookkeeping files, and your colleagues definitely won't be examining your tax documents. And yet, even though all these systems remain completely hidden from the public eye, they are the exact things determining whether your visible success stays stable over the long run. Professional respect heavily depends on the things no one ever sees. Look at how these ordinary actions just stack up to create extraordinary trust. One accurate financial statement, add one honest declaration, add an organized record, a timely tax return, a responsible decision. None of these are massive, heroic deeds, right? They're just ordinary, everyday actions. But combined, they prove that tax compliance is way more than just a legal requirement. It's a profound measure of your personal accountability and your respect for the weight of your own success. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on. Saturn reminds us that the strongest reputations are never built on image alone. Real integrity is forged through years of quiet discipline, the kind that keeps going long after the awards and the public recognition have arrived. So as you keep building your own visible success, what does your hidden foundation look like? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this gave you a fresh perspective on those invisible habits that drive true, lasting achievement.